right, gentlemen. My name is Jared Fullerton. I represent Genetec, which is the actual software platform that Signet has actually installed here on your campus. What Genetec does and what the software does is it's an open architecture software platform that allows you to take those cameras that are all around your building and the card readers that are all around your building on your doors and pumping the information into a computer so you can actually see that in live time. So you can go back and you see the live and the recorded state of those cameras. You can also see the access control events throughout your facility and see when people are coming and going. You also enroll people through this, so if you have users in the system that you want to give access or credentials to get through your portals or your doors throughout your system, you do that all from here. So this is kind of not only the workstation, the viewing workstation, but it's also your way of going back into the system and retrieving data for investigations and for management. All of this information is being stored elsewhere. This is just the client portion of it. Everything else is being stored and locked in the server room where all the actual physical raw video files and all the data and information that's pumping through these devices to the system are being stored. We're just recalling them up. I'm not going to speak for Signet today because obviously I'm not Signet, I'm just the manufacturer, so I'm only going to be able to train on what I see here. It looks like you have 70-ish cameras and 30-ish doors on your system, which can be correlated to one another. So if you have a camera that's in, say, the hallway that's pointing at the front doors, when someone swipes a card read or presents his or her credentials to that reader, the camera can actually get a tag where if you go back and you look at that access granted or access, say, data that's pumped into the system, the video associated with that will show up as well. Does that make sense? So now I'm swiping a card, I get the camera read as well, so I can see the card credential and the cameras to the live video. So you can actually say, yes, this was Mrs. or Mr. Smith that came through the front door because here's a physical view of them along with their card read. So you get like both authentications. The way that Genetec has set up the software here is that we worked in a task or tab-based environment, just like you do like Internet Explorer or say like Windows, where you have a start button on the upper left-hand corner. Obviously, Windows is down here on the bottom left, but that will actually grant you access into other portions of the software, which we call tasks or tabs, which are across the top here. So every time I want to do something, I can either create a new investigation or operation and create a new task, right, for what I want to do. The main tab or task that you have is called your monitoring tab, where you actually have a canvas layout that can be chosen at your leisure as far as how many cameras you want to see up at a time and that kind of thing, along with the access grants that are associated with those cameras. Up here is sort of your event log, where all the events are pumping into the system, so you can see all the access grants for people that are coming and going throughout your system. If you get an access denial, right, someone tries to go up to the elevator and grant access to the elevator and they don't have access to get into the elevator, it'll come up as a denial and it'll show everything in the system. Any questions so far? No?
Actually, yes.
Yeah, go ahead, shoot. Okay, this is going to be really open. I mean, please, throw some questions out.
Well, it's a question based on something that happened the other night. At some point during this training, if you're going to show us how the video works, if we can go back to 10 o'clock-ish, two nights ago.
We can definitely do that. I mean, it's not a part of a training per se. That's more like a regular business function. But I can definitely show you how to do it.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, obviously that's a part of the training, right? I'm going to show you actually how to do it. So then you can go back.
While we're doing that, we'll go back to that.
Sure.
That's what I'd like to do is go back to that date because there's nobody here to do that for me today. So.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I said, I'm not Signet, so I don't even know if the system is up and running to the capability where it even has the ability to do that.
It is.
Okay. So if it does, then yes.
Because we've actually tracked a couple UPS packages using the video surveillance.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yes, so the answer to your question is definitely.
Thank you.
Yep.
So just with the card access, you made the connection between the video surveillance and the card access. So, for example, if somebody came in at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night and you pulled that up, it would automatically pull up the video surveillance.
Correct.
For the door they entered through.
Correct. If it's set up, if you have, I mean, like this camera here, I don't know what it's called. I don't know, it's stairwell or whatnot, but. See, I'm clicking on these access control events and I'm not seeing any video associated with it. But the system has the capability to do that, and it might just not be set up yet.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But yeah, so what I do is I tell that camera that's sitting right there to when you have an access grant at the main lobby, main door entrance or whatever, when I go back and I search for those access control events, when I double click on that access control event, I get the recorded video right here in one of those panes. Yep. So yes, we were talking about tasks and tab-based interface and how this is all working. This is a unified interface, we like to call it, where you're actually seeing your access control and your video. In your legacy systems, you actually had two separate systems completely. You had an access control system and then a video management system where you would go back and look at either your video or your access control events. This is one system, one unified system that shows you both. It still has the capability to do like your full screen kind of options, which I can show you. Full screen kind of options where you can set up your canvas so you can have multiple monitors, so you can have like a video wall and that kind of stuff. So it's still the full enterprise class system that you know and love, and then some.
We haven't bitten anybody yet today.
On the left-hand side, we have your entity tree or your site tree, which actually shows all the components in the system. So here you'll actually see all your access control doors, and then if you have the little globe here, that's your Omnicast system, which is your actual VMS portion of the system, you'll actually see all your cameras. So if I have a camera that I want to pull up, what I can do is I can just double-click on the camera, and it'll actually populate that tile. Or what I can also do is I can just click, hold, and drag that out to whatever tile I want. So if I double click, it's just going to pick up the first available tile that's on the system. Or like I said, you can click and drag. You can also, like I mentioned before, change your canvas layout so you can do, quad view 6, 9, 16, 64, however many you want. Obviously, all that information has to be regenerated by your computer, so it's the processing power of your computer of how many actual physical pieces of video you can have at one time. Your computer's only so strong, right? Now you have a bunch of stuff open up on your personal computer at home, and all of a sudden it starts getting really slow and it starts stopping to respond. Same thing with this, right? It's still a computer. You try to pull up 64 camera views, which is kind of useless anyway because they're so small you won't be able to do anything with them anyway. Your computer's going to have a hard time. What we just saw there is we saw an access control event come into the system. Somebody went and got access to the elevator. Looks like it's still in, it says elevator test, so it looks like they're still looking to do something with it.
Shady character getting on the
Shady character. Again, access control events on top, cameras on the bottom. All these windows, anywhere where there's these 4 or 5 little dots, you can actually manipulate it. So you can actually see all your access control events or all your video, or a combination. So on your tree, again, all your cameras, you can actually set up multiple different tasks or tabs across the top. So say I have, a couple of monitoring tabs with a bunch of camera layouts and that kind of stuff. When I log out of the system, it'll actually ask me, do you want to save this? And it's per workstation based on the user who logged into the system. So next time you come into the system, that'll be saved. So when you come to the system, it'll actually show you what you had before. Does that make sense? Okay. Have I lost anybody yet? No? Okay. If for whatever reason you need to go back and you need to do a case or an investigation, you can select a tile within the monitoring tab, and notice how I have a bunch of controls down here. These controls actually change dynamically based on what you're doing. So right now I'm looking at live video. This tile is live video. I can double click on it and make it full screen for us so we can see what's going on there a little bit better. But on this tile, what I'm doing is I'm looking at the live video of that camera, and I can tell because I'm actually on this little switch right here that says live. If I want to, I can flip that switch down to playback and notice how my tools change. Now I have something that's completely different. I actually have a toolbar that shows me the recorded state of that camera, and it doesn't look like there's been anything as far as recording on this camera as of today. And you notice what I was doing there is there's little plus and minus buttons that will allow me to zoom in and out on the time bar. Anything that's in black, there's no recording because these cameras are set to record on motion. Anything that's white is actually buffering, and then anything that's in purple is actually future video. So it hasn't happened yet. if I zoom out on the time bar, I can actually see a couple of blips of video, and I can click and drag that cursor to that spot, so when I zoom in on it, I can go back and I can play that video, but it doesn't look like there's anything there to play back. So that's a bad example. Let's pick a different camera.
I think that's one. That ladder's been there for a
It
while.
is, yeah. It was up on the stairs.
Oh, yeah,
That ladder's been there for a while?
Yeah.
If you go back to last night at 5:30, you should see me walk through there. You don't want to do that.
Anyway, so
You didn't do anything on that ladder, did you?
climbing up and down it.
Stairs.
So anyway, so what I'm just showing you here is that you can switch between live and playback, and this is actually per tile based. So on your legacy systems, what you usually see is you actually see a page that's all recorded video or all live video. Here it's actually pretty dynamic. What you can do is you can just switch between the different tiles to do what function you want to do. So I can switch between live and playback at my leisure, which is a very unique feature. So now I'm actually looking at live video here, but on this tile I'm actually seeing recorded video. And notice when I click back and forth between my tiles, my tools, they change on the bottom. So we're only giving you the tools that you need necessary depending on what you're selected on. If I need to do a full-blown investigation that's going to span beyond, obviously, a day worth of video, because if I zoom out on this time bar, I'm only really seeing a day worth of video, I can actually go up to the little start button, which I call the home button, and I can do an investigation. And what kind of investigation do I want to do? Do I want to do an access control investigation or a video investigation? In this case, I want to go back and look at recorded video. So I'm actually going to go into the video, and then I can do an archive report. You can call it whatever you want, but I'll just leave it as its default archive report task. And then what I can do is I can select a camera or a bunch of cameras within my system to show me all the recorded days that camera has available. Once I've found the day that I want to actually see, I can select that, and then I can go back, and now what I have is a list of that entire day of all the different recorded segments depending on the motion
On that camera.
on that camera.
Is there something listed there for vestibule or, I don't know what that camera would be called, but this one here.
No, it doesn't look like they've named them yet. It looks like they're just C stands for camera, and they've gone through 1 through whatever as far as numbering scheme. But then it has -cam-01, which would be its name. So obviously Signet's got a running list of what cam 1 it represents. So when they come back here, they actually give you the sheet and say, here, sign off on these names, and then they'll input them into the system, kind of thing.
Yeah, we got a number should be already on campus.
You guys Mac based too? It's just
That's the main learning initiative. Our laptop is 7/8, yeah. Everything else PC.
Some computer trying to actually buffer the video. Are they still trying to figure out what camera that is? I think so.
I'm gonna go ahead and pause
That's what you
this.
guys gotta decide.
It'll be
I mean, I would assume
IT,
you would.
me,
And
Okay, Barry or Mark.
and somebody in here, because it's gonna be on that monitor all the time.
Well, I'm wondering if, would it make sense for Dan Costain too, since he's the cop?
Yeah.
I mean, it would think, call me crazy, but.
I think that bottom right one
Somebody
might have been
do an
it, if it's
investigation.
pointing out that way.
That was, I think that's the entrance to the Performing Arts Center.
Oh, they both have the same.
The same
Yeah,
cover,
on the floor.
So this hasn't been put on anybody's computer yet? Is that what you were saying?
Me, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't have the answer to that question.
Okay,
I don't know either.
that's right. We like,
Jay can tell you Monday when he
Okay.
comes back, I'm sure. Sure, he'll be back here.
It's gonna be the last one you check.
Absolutely, it always is. Why wouldn't it be?
Nobody ever gets that.
Is there a function you're using to close all of them?
There is, yeah. There's a special key command. You can literally. You
got
can
it right there?
Take
No,
this.
that's the end of the
You
building.
can click on one camera.
Right here.
What,
Top,
sorry,
top
this
right.
one?
yeah.
Oh, this one right here, yeah.
Read later.
You can take this, select the tile, and hit this, which is clear it. You can hit backspace, which will just do one, or you can hit control backspace, which will do the whole canvas.
Go get a,
So C5 lobby cam.
C5.
C5 lobby cam.
Isn't it explosive?
It's today.
Plastic
Yeah.
explosive,
C5.
isn't it? C5.
C4.
C4.
And what day were you looking for?
What's today? Friday? He told me yesterday, so Wednesday night, Wednesday night around 10 o'clock at night, obviously, in the night.
Let's see here. We have 5 a.m. We have 7. We have 10.
Interesting.
We have 11 to 12. What time? I'm sorry.
Around 10.
Around 10. A lot of motion going on. Let's try 9. Oh wait, is that 10?
There you go, it's dark now.
There's a lot of motion going on here.
Is that green all something that it's detecting? or-
It is, but since it's dark out, it's actually detecting the cameras. Looks like it's flopping back and forth between its IR cut filter, it's a lens filter, and notice how it definitely needs to be adjusted because it's picking up a bunch of noise. I didn't see anything come through the front door. Are you looking for an actual somebody that came through the front door?
To tell you the Reader's Digest version,
Sure.
we've been told that the police broke into the building at 10 o'clock at night.
All right. Well,
Three policemen.
we're at 10 o'clock right now, and I haven't seen anything. 10.
Yeah, they're gonna come from the bottom left screen and go to the top right.
As in the building wasn't locked?
What did
No,
they?
it was locked.
They literally broke
The
in.
custodian said that they actually jimmied the door open.
We're at 11 almost. Oh, there you go.
Oh, the men in blue.
Is that them?
Yeah, that was police.
So sometime around
So it
11.
must have been before, was that them coming out though?
Yeah.
There's somebody
Them pulling up, yeah,
Yeah.
police car too, you can see it in the.
Yeah.
They break my
exciting.
door.
They did, that is a cruiser.
You're gonna have to sign a confidentiality paper
Yeah.
before you leave here today now.
Me? I didn't see anything. I wasn't even here. I don't know what you're talking about.
See, they're driving around.
Yeah.
yeah, you lie that to the camera.
Yeah.
Luckily,
We're being
lucky they
filmed
didn't
right
drive
now.
right through the front door.
Sirens and lights
Blues
go.
Brothers.
I think they were told they ever see a custodian and brew a clean into a restaurant.
Say that again?
So I think they were told if they ever see a brewer custodian cleaning to arrest him immediately.
Here we come. That's
That's Tony Panetta, isn't it?
Looks like the camera's set to record on higher quality when it sees a higher level of motion because it instantly kicks into
Yeah.
the higher quality. I am playing it back. It happened at exactly 11 o'clock, which is really interesting. Like literally almost exactly at 11 o'clock. 10:59, 10:50, 10:52, 4, 5, 11 o'clock
Here it comes.
exactly. PM.
Must be making a round or something, and so we come in, that door was open.
Yeah.
They said 3 came in. That door's supposed to be closed.
No,
The doors,
He's like, hi.
I don't know, was it?
All right.
So he's calling,
calling for backup.
Yeah,
because he's finding it unlocked.
yeah.
The door's unlocked, wasn't it?
Yeah. And it was locked when I left. Steve, that is
It's like quality control.
if you let that door close by itself, that one and the one outside the music room, it won't lock. You gotta kind of grab it and close it. I don't know if it's an issue with
You know what,
the
this
closing mecanism or dirty or
this
what.
must be a scary building to try to go through by yourself at night
Oh,
if you
yeah.
were trying to find somebody.
If I had a gun, I'd feel a little better about it.
Well, I don't understand
Why he's calling for help.
Why the guy's telling me.
Oh, there they went.
They didn't have to work the door too
I
hard.
went through a crowd. Yeah, he told me they bent the door and everything.
Yeah, that's his cover story.
Yeah, maybe they bent it to get it unlocked.
So at exactly 11 o'clock was the first gentleman, then about 11:04 was the rest of the crew come in.
All right. And you notice the first guy's in the back. Actually, he didn't even.
No, he wasn't even in this one.
Is that Amy?
So he just opened
It
it
was
right up.
unlocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody's got some explaining to do.
Don't you hate it when people lie? Or you love it, either one.
When you have cameras, you love
Sure
it.
does help to sort out the story though, doesn't it?
Looks like they really forced their way in there. You know, woo, look at this.
Police didn't break in, they walked in.
Not only did he not force his way in, he was actually surprised
and
when he
the
like
guy
pulled on the door and it just opened up.
The guy told me they went in this left-hand door and jimmied it open.
No, they're in the middle.
Mark Farley's coming up the wall.
All right, that's cool.
You
So
good?
I'm driving by when I left.
Yeah, I've learned all I needed to know.
All right, so you're right on
Thank you very
your.
much.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're right on your time.
Good demo.
Yeah,
That
no,
is awesome.
not
Well,
bad.
you know what? I told you about the package.
There you go.
Oh,
That's the guy right there, yeah.
So what's he doing? He's talking to somebody.
He's talking to the cops
You talking to me?
because they were leaving when he was. They must have found him in there at 11:07.
Yeah, 'cause he is working in here, so now they're leaving.
And Amy?
Yeah.
Used to be a game
And
with.
now he comes out. Oh, is that where was she again?
Up in Old Town, she lived right up the street from me. It was awesome, because that's when my kids were little. She'd like stop by the house and say, Alex and Jake,
he's at the
I
door
got a
now.
fawn, you wanna come see you? One time she had a baby otter in the bathtub. My kids just loved
He didn't
having Amy
speak to
for
anybody
me.
though.
No,
doesn't
just
he?
making sure they left.
Oh,
Oh
what?
no, okay, now he's talking to him. Yeah. Make sure the doors are locked. Sorry. Yeah, so he pushed on it.
Yeah. Now he goes over to the other one. It's way over to the right-hand side now
Yep.
toward us.
Yep.
This is pretty cool. I'm gonna enjoy playing with this.
All right. So, I mean,
Thank
that, right, yeah, no problem. So right there, that's kind of just an example of how to actually search for video. Yeah. So, higher the green, the more the motion is. Obviously, you're seeing some pretty decent motion in here, so.
So
Here,
you think those need to be kind
yeah, they need to
of
be
toned
adjusted,
down
yeah.
a little bit?
Well, they obviously have some work to do on the system. It doesn't look like they even have like camera names or anything set up really.
That was pretty cool though.
But I mean, for the most part, it's still picked up the video, so it's close. But I mean, they still definitely got some tweaking to do.
Okay.
Yeah. If you wanted to, if you knew the exact time range too, so like all we did was we selected a camera, right?
Mm-hmm.
We selected a camera. It populated all the available video down here, and all we did was we just went down to a day and selected the day, and then it gave us the whole day of video. We selected around the time that you mentioned.
Yep.
If you knew the exact time, you could actually do a time range. You could do a day, or you could actually do like an absolute value where you could pick the date or dates in between.
So would that show you cameras that had motion at the time? Or?
It would, yeah. So you see these check boxes? you say, I want to see all the cameras that are checked between this date and this date, between this time and this time. So if we knew that it was around 10 to 11 o'clock, we could have just come, selected the camera, set absolute on 8/5, which is that Wednesday, and then we could have just come in here and selected 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. and would have found our video. Yeah.
Well, you know, and
Officer Dan gonna like that.
well, plus I can use it. That guy that we're talking about here that come out to talk to the police, he works for me as a custodian, and I know they take 4 or 5 smoke breaks during their 5-hour shift.
So absolutely. Honestly, I'm gonna be brutally honest with you though. I don't know how to say that the state of Maine works because I'm not from the state of Maine, and I haven't looked at the laws. But you can actually pause that for a second. So you see here, we've been watching an archive report and looking at stuff, and all of a sudden I get this little 3 up here, right, on my monitoring tab. All that means is that there's been 3 events that's happened since I've been off of that tab. So it's just 3 access control events that came through. So it's showing me.
So we ought to be able to see Mark and Mrs. Farley just coming in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Big Brother is definitely watching, huh?
Right. What makes this really powerful is that right now we just saw 3 events that came in. Is that, you taping that now?
Yeah.
Okay, back on. You had 3 events that came in on an elevator test. That young individual that's walking around has an elevator test card. It doesn't have his information on it or whatever. Once we have everybody in the system that has an access control card like yourself, it'll actually come up with your name. Right? If there's a camera in that lobby, what we will get is not only will get his name and then the date and time when he physically read at that elevator, but you'll actually get the associated video when they associate the cameras to the actual.
He's got his own card. It should be identified to him.
So you didn't have to try to be on top of everything with this system.
So here it is, came in. Like I said, if there's a camera in that lobby and when they make the camera.
There is a camera there.
No, but when they have to still make the association. They have to actually tell that door that, okay, here's the camera for that door kind of thing.
Look at that, Jay.
It's a checkbox for them, but they have to go through the system. I'm not going to do it, obviously, because it's not my system. It's yours and Signet's responsibility to make sure that this is set up the way that you guys want it.
You gotta dress a little more colorfully while you're not.
Yeah.
So when they do tie them all in together, if you click on that access, that I just access the elevator, it should pull up the video to show
The recorded video.
Gotcha.
The recorded video, yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, you know, I wonder if we're getting, because they're telling us that this is complete. This is finished.
Well, maybe it's not completely set up though. Or maybe our IT guys have to set it up. I don't know.
Yeah, it really depends on how it was sold and what's in the documentation as far as he said, she said kind of stuff.
And whatever was specified in the contract.
Must be capable of, but not owed kind of stuff. And all that is very easy to set up. So I mean, you guys will be able to do that. If it isn't included, I mean, it's literally a checkbox and that kind of stuff. So, but very powerful at that point. Because as you can imagine, now that when I actually read, and if you guys actually take pictures of the individuals, the picture of the person will come up as a little thumbnail, and also the live video or the recorded video, depending on how you use the system. So it's pretty cool.
Picture that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not ready. My hair's not ready yet.
Let's see.
You won't believe the discussion.
So these events that are coming up, are associated with doors, right? They're associated with doors. These are actually door access grants. On these doors, what I have is, again, remember when I selected my tile and I get my tools for that job? Well, I'm actually selecting a tile, but it's associated to a door, and it's the elevator door. This is a bad example because it's the elevator, but I can go back and say this door right here. I'll pull up, which is still the elevator. Where's it different?
I swiped the door last night at like 5:30.
Here's a E-wing exit, right? So here's the E-wing exit door. What I can do is notice I have some options down here. The door's closed, and so it's telling me the actual physical state of the door. If you want to open up that door, this right here would say open. So you know what the state of the door is. It's in a locked state, so the door can be closed and still in an unlocked state. So it's actually telling me that the door is locked.
It's pretty cool.
With these little buttons down here, I can actually unlock the door. So right now I'm going to click this button, watch my states. The door is still closed, but now it's unlocked. So if someone went and pulled that door, the door would be unlocked.
I'm gonna like playing with this.
All right. And now it's relocked.
He's gonna wait till we go out and lock the door.
Now you'll never have to leave your office.
I know. I'm gonna go, and then you're gonna reach for it. I'm gonna lock it.
You can see him like,
Then you'll look in the camera and you'll see us going, we know it's you.
So that's just a momentary unlock button, but say I want to, say you get a phone call, right, and it says, hey, you know, we're having an event tonight, it's from such and such a time, or it's for the next 2 hours, I want you to unlock that door. What I can do is I can click this little schedule button right here, and what pops up is a temporary override schedule, right? So I can do an unlock for however many minutes or hours, depending on what you select, or I can select a date and time range. So in advance, what you can do is you could go ahead and say, next Tuesday between the hours and such and such and such and such, this door is going to be open for this amount of time.
This is pretty cool.
Wow.
Right from here. You don't have to go in and change any door schedules or anything. Everything's on the fly.
Thought of this one.
Yeah, this is the first, I know the camera's running, but this is the first system, I guess, that is really
Usable.
well, a lot of thought went into it.
Oh, yeah, no,
The rest of it's just common, like.
Right, so
It's nice that it's all tied in together.
Yeah.
And it's not all separate systems. that-
And then, you know, Dan did mention the door thing. You know, we were originally told that if a door was propped open, you know, an alarm would go off and
It
we'd
will,
know.
yep.
But we're told that doesn't happen, that we don't have that.
okay.
So,
I mean, it will happen. I mean, if you get a 4-store, you'll get a 4-store alarm on this. It'll happen. I mean, it's not going to do anything fancy, but you'll know about it. Like, I guess what he might have been saying is you can actually get a 4-store alarm and then create something like an email
I
or,
think he was thinking
or
like a
messages
building
out,
alarm.
or yeah, or right, or
Like a
initiation
buzzer
for
or
a
something.
flasher or whatever, a strobe or a horn. You'll get it here. If someone goes to that front door and it's locked, and I force that door open and say that guy was right, and the police came in and they actually Jimmy rigged the door open and force it, what's going to happen is you're going to get a flashing little button up here. It's going to have a little 1 on it, and it's actually going to be in this tab over here, and it's going to come up with a 4-store alarm at 4-store main entry, blah, blah, blah. And it will show you the video. So now when you go back into the system, you can actually search for those as well. You can search for 4-store events and that kind of thing. Make sense?
yeah.
What he might have meant is that with those alarms, what you can do is you can actually create external alarms, which would be sending emails to your Blackberries or iPhones or that kind of
Then the
thing.
door's been Jimmy.
Yeah, the Jimmy-
Now, what if
yeah,
you
right.
just prop one open?
Door held open too long. So if you have an access grant and you go and you hold it open for longer than the door allows, when I open this door, I can sort of tell how long the door is open for. Unlock 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000. It locks. So about six seconds.
Can you look to see right, does it show any, I know there's one right now that's open.
Let's see. On these, I would have to pull them all up and see what they would be at.
Oh, like you did the video.
Right.
But there's no beacon, or there's no signal right now showing you that there's a door.
There's no door held open right now that I see. It would actually come up in this actual tree right here, in this event log.
All right.
Not that I can see.
So it's not like the door ajar
There's
light
probably
in the
not,
car.
there might not be a swipe card out at that
Yeah.
door. Beth, we can get somebody to, never mind.
You want Alex to move those?
I'm just gonna put them in the.
You want him to move them?
That's all right, you don't have to search. It's-
Yeah, no, I don't really want.
I'm just gonna put them in the storage room here, just to get them out of the. And the floor there anyway is fine. Thank you. Now, what is this?
What I'm doing right now is I'm just adding to what I want to view, right? So I had selected all the users, I should say, our card holders, our credential holders in the system. What I'm doing is I'm viewing their state. So these are the only people that I saw in the system that actually had card holders. That actually had credentials assigned to them. It looks like a dozen people. I don't know how many people we've actually set up in the system or how many Signet has actually done, but it looks like about a dozen or so people are set up with an actual physical card. I'm gonna go back.
Thank you.
Now what I'm doing is I'm watching the door, so I can actually see what the doors are doing. So notice what I'm seeing is I have door opened, door forced. So that someone did force a door open. Door manually unlocked. Door manually unlocked, door forced open. So I have some door forced opens happening right now. And what that could be is somebody taking a physical key, right? So now I'm not using an access control card, but there's an access control of a device on the door. Instead of swiping your card and having the door open itself through the system, what he's doing is, or she's doing is using a key. They're still opening up the door, but what that does is it forces the door open to the system because it doesn't know that they're using a key or not, right? So all the door is seeing is the contact's closed. It's in a closed, idle state. They go open it with a key. Now it opens those contacts, and now you've created a forced door.
And no swipe card was used to do it.
Because you did swipe with your card.
Yeah.
All right.
Something just changed right there. Something just popped on that one.
Yeah. Door open, door closed.
You just come in.
Yeah.
So FD outside. Door open, closed door. So these are just events that are coming in.
So even if the door's unlocked, every time it opens, it records it.
Oh, absolutely. Even if it doesn't show it in the event log here, the system's recording it. Yep.
So like if we had a situation, I think you were thinking about this, but remember the other night when somebody propped the door open out back and then we got the call?
Yeah.
So then we would know. We'd be able to go back and see, well, who propped the door open and when did they prop it open?
Well, you wouldn't physically know who was propping the door because they didn't take their card and read at the door, right? They just propped the door. Well, actually, no, you would because they swipe their card, the door opens, and then they prop the door. So yeah, you would know because it would show.
They actually had a master key, so they opened it with a key.
Okay, so then you wouldn't know, right? Because they used a master key.
Unless you caught it on video.
Unless you caught it on video.
But you could, if you had an idea of when it happened and what the door is, could you go back to that camera?
Yes, absolutely.
That's
Yep.
what- yeah.
Yep.
Because I think what
You
happened.
could check the events to see when the door opened.
Yeah.
And then pull up the camera for that
That's
time.
pretty cool.
Yeah. Because I know that when the guys have been sheetrocking in the other end of the building, they take one of those big pails of sheetrock mud and stick that in the door to leave it open so they can get back out to get stuff out of the truck, which makes sense until they leave it there.
So the way that I'm doing this and actually being able to see these events coming into the system is that there's a little entities tab on the bottom. So I have my logical view, which shows me all my cameras in the system. If I click on this little arrow on the globe to show me all my cameras, I can close it. I can see all my doors. But on the next tab over, which is my entities, what I've done is there's a little plus and a remove button. What I can do is I can add whatever entities in the system that I want to physically be viewing or being able to go back and look at. So what I did was I just selected all the doors, hitting Control key or Shift key, selecting all of them, and hit Add. So then I could go back, and now I'm getting those forced doors or door open, door closed events. Obviously, it gets cluttered in the system. It's tired to watch. I'd rather just see, the access control of people coming and going through the doors. But
Now you've got a
totally up to you.
list of all the names. Oh my God, here we go. A list of names on the left-hand column, right?
Yep. Of all the doors, yep.
Well,
And
actually, you had all the
cameras.
pass holders right there for a second.
Oh yeah, well that's in Cardholder management. All I did was I'm just looking at the entity, so I'm just looking at what I want to actually view as far as events in the system. So I want to see anything that happens to these people with these credentials.
That's my point.
So,
like if you clicked on my name, would it show you like the doors I went through and where I've been all day today?
good question. That is called a cardholder management report or an activity report. So if I go back to my task of my monitoring task, and I said, Jason Richards, what I could do is I could right-click on Jason Richards, and I could do an investigation on him, and I could do a cardholder activity report. What it does is it creates a new task with him automatically selected, and I can just hit the generate report button, and what it does is it populates all of his report for the day.
So it shows where he's been during the day?
Absolutely, yeah. It shows everything that he's scanned into.
You get tired reading my report.
You better go to
But I mean, it's very powerful if you want to see what he's been doing. So.
Office, roach coach, bathroom.
Here we go.
Office, roach coach, bathroom.
So
that's on video, I'm sorry.
So with that though, I mean, now I've selected Jason Richards. I've done a day's worth of actual activity. I've hit generate the report. I've generated his report. I can double click and select him, and now I can see the associated video when or if you make the tags to the video.
It's not brainwave activity, is it?
Say I want
Way too much for one day.
Say I want to, I'm just going to minimize these windows for right now, but say I want to take this and now I want to export this report, right? I can actually export this report right here by the Save Report As button. Now what I can do is I can do a CSV file in Excel or a portable document file, which is like Word. I can select that format, point it to wherever I want to on the physical machine, on any network location that the physical computer can see. I can hit save, and what it will do is it'll save it in that file that I deemed. What I can do too is, and it'll look exactly like this, access granted, Jason Richards, with the picture after you guys input the pictures, with the location, the date and time, that kind of stuff.
Pictures.
Yeah, pictures are great.
Put a spell on you.
Yeah. If you guys want to, say, manipulate this before you export it, you can just click and hold and say, I want to take the picture, I want the picture first, and then I want the first name, and then I want the last name. All I'm doing is moving the titles. So now, by having it situated the way that I want to, now I can do my export.
Can we actually make it look like he's doing some work?
Yeah, exactly. Make it look like he's going to his office an awful lot. No, we can't do that. Too bad. But when I do that export now,
This nap time
now it's
out.
going to be. Now when I do the export, it's going to be right in the way that I had organized it.
Now, is there a way to set this up so that every time the superintendent walks in the building, some sort of silent alarm goes off?
So we can all look like we're doing that?
We can all act busy?
You can absolutely do that. So based on a cardholder access grant at such and such a door, I want to do what? I want to send an email, or I want to send an alert to the
That
workstation
was
saying
Bill.
Electric
such
shock.
and such and such is in the building.
That was Bill that said that.
Elvis is in the
That was Bill, yeah. Bill said that. But yeah, so yes, to answer your question,
Until it's
that's
Friday.
kind of how you that's how you actually generate a cardholder
pretty cool.
activity report.
That-
And that's for all the doors, but say I don't want all the doors. Look at how I have all these different little options here, just like I did with the date and time on the video. I can select what doors I want to pick. So I want to see every time Jason Richards just came through door 1101A. I just select that door, hit generate report, and he's never been through that door.
That's his office.
That's right, that's a good thing. Never been through it.
But I mean, I just want to show that you can actually select one door, multiple doors, combination of doors, or all doors, so you can manipulate how you want that report to come out. Okay. Anything in red will tell you that you need to select something. Notice I have no door selected, so when I generate that report, it's obviously going to come up as an error because I don't have anything selected. Multiple people, all people, one person, all from there. So that's a cardholder activity report. Let's go back to the monitoring tab and see what else I can select.
Just to lay that bus trip down.
No, they're actually setting. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
They're setting up a couple of displays for the open house.
Say I want to do the opposite. Say I don't care about the user himself or herself,
But the location.
but the location, and I want to deal with the door. I want to run a door report. I can still click on that same door. That was either I can actually do it from here in my event window. I can actually run a door activity report, or I can do it right from one of the panes as well, investigation door activity report. So now what I'm doing is I want to select the door FD outside. I can select door activity report, which is a different kind of task, right? We're not looking for card holders, we're actually looking for the door activity report. We can select the door, which it does automatically because I selected that one when I was in the other monitoring tab. I hit generate, and it'll actually give me all of the activity of that door. It was opened, it was forced, it was closed, it was opened, it was through the whole day. Wow. Yeah. So, very cool stuff.
You can't, that's amazing.
Were you about to say you can't get away with anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, if you are trying to, you can't. I mean, and job performance aside, I'm not talking about that, I'm just...
No, it's become a really powerful tool, especially, video aside. I mean, look, we haven't really talked much about video, right? We showed you some live video, we showed you how to pull up some panes and do some different stuff and look back at the recorded video, but really we're talking about just your facility, right? Your perimeter doors, what the activity's been through those doors and who's been utilizing them and that kind of stuff. So now you can start to see in your mind what kind of correlation, I had a student or I had a teacher, she came through that door, she went into that one, that kind of stuff. You can start running through your mind and how you're going to do your investigation, but everything's the unified system, so you can correlate the door activity with your video. That's very powerful. So on this tab right here, what I have is it's another task. It's called the Cardholder Management task. Cardholder Management, this is where I actually can see all my cardholders in my system. I can delete my cardholders, I can modify my cardholders, I can create new cardholders. When I do that, I have a picture associated with that individual. What you can do is you can actually load a picture from a file, so you can download them from onto the server, onto this workstation, upload them, and they go into the database so they get saved. So no matter what you do with that picture, say you delete it off of this workstation or whatnot, it's still going to be saved on the server, so you still have it. You can capture a picture, capture a snapshot from a webcam. So if you had like a USB webcam on the computer, you can just point it out, then you say, hey, smile, click, take a picture of that individual. Or you can actually take a snapshot from any camera in the whole system. This is all logical, so now that the system is one and it's unified, you could have that person stand out in the hallway, go stare up and look at that camera right there and say, okay, just hold there for a second, click, done. So you can utilize any camera on the system. I can sort of see if I can show you an example of that. Did I select it? What was that one in the lobby? It was like
Five lobby or something. Staring up at it.
So now you could go out to that hallway. You could go and actually figure out exactly what position they needed to stand at. You could even put like a little piece of tape on the floor if you really wanted to, and say, "Go stand on the piece of tape." Click the snapshot, and now that snapshot becomes the picture of that individual. Honestly, though, the best thing is buying a $5 webcam from Best Buy and sticking it in the computer. And that way you can actually take pictures of all of the individuals, so that makes the system look a lot nicer, right? When those people are coming in and out of the doors, you have a little thumbnail of the picture so you don't know what it is without having to read the name, on the door activity report and that kind of thing. You can activate or inactivate a person right from here. So say I had somebody that, maybe got terminated from their position or something like that. You could just click this button right here, boom, now they can't get anywhere. It's one click. You're done. Don't have to worry about it. Don't have to screw around. Don't have to call somebody, be like, I can't figure it out. You just come right into Cardholder Management. You go to that individual, double click on them, and activate.
Now, this person here, I only want to give them access to certain parts of the building.
Yep, absolutely. So the way that works is that you create a new cardholder. Say it's Jack. Their credential, which we didn't really go over yet, is going to be their access control card. He already has one. It's got a 26-bit structure, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really matter, but he's got a card. That card does something. That card needs to have an access rule associated with it. So you have a person, you put the person in the system. That person really doesn't have any kind of right or usability within the system because one, he doesn't have a card, and two, it doesn't have an access rule associated with that card at this point. Person gets in the system, now you give them a physical card. Okay, great, that card is assigned to that person, but when you go up to the door, it doesn't do anything. It just reads and says negative because I don't have anything associated with it. That's where the access rule comes into play, where you can select what kind of rule that card or that credential has. Is it, I have access to all doors? Do I have access just to the front door? Do I have access just to the main lobby plus my wing of my, my building? That kind of stuff needs to be sort of deemed out between internally and how you guys do your system.
So we can set up as many different rules, per se, as we want?
Infinite amount of rules, yeah. Usually I recommend that you keep it simple. Usually like what I recommend for, this is a school environment in K through 12, what I would say is, for every, say, teacher, create like a teacher credential, so when you go in and you want to say assign an access rule, it says teacher on it, right? That teacher has access to what? The front door, maybe the side doors, the elevator in case they need it, but doesn't have access to like the IT room and the storage closet and that kind of stuff. You don't deem
we could do like what we were thinking, right? It was the wings and common areas. So a teacher from the river wing has really no need to go over into the brick wing.
Right.
So their card wouldn't work in the brick.
Right. Correct.
They don't need to get in the boiler room, so that so.
Correct.
So you'd have to do like brick wing teacher card, river wing teacher card, ice wing teacher card.
Every wing.
You could.
And then a common area.
Yeah.
So you give them, say, the river. You give them river and common. Front door, river, common.
I'd even say, this is my personal opinion, so I mean you can take it with a grain of salt, but I usually try to make it even more just, kind of easy, right? You give one teacher credential in case, say there's a shooting,
This is coming from
No, I know.
my boss.
Right. You can explain to your boss, let's say there's a teacher in East Wing and there's a shooting over in West Wing, right? You want that East Wing teacher to be able to have access to those doors to help out in a situation like that. You know, I know that there's a lot of other things like that teacher could break into that facility, grab material and all that kind of stuff, but that's why we have cameras and that kind of stuff.
So if anything happens, it's not like it's going to.
It's not like, and it's all recorded, right? So, you know, so that
But
person.
I'm just saying, you know, Dan wants, he didn't want it.
Right, and that's
divided.
internal. That's an internal
Yeah.
thing you guys gotta fight out. But, you know, if it was my school with my kids in it, I'd want that teacher in that wing to have that access to that door in case, you know, say that teacher like passed out and was, you know, on the floor, you know, going through a seizure or something. I want to make sure that that teacher can get into another wing to help out and do that kind of stuff, or a shooting, heaven forbid that happens. The people that you hire, usually you trust, you know, to a point, right? You don't want them in the boiler room. There's no reason why she should be in the boiler room. If she had a function at any point where she needed to get in the boiler room, yeah, she'd have access to it, but she doesn't.
I wish we put these locks, I wish we didn't have key locks on the doors, the classrooms. I wish they were all card readers, like a hotel.
Yeah, we could do that.
Yeah. If you want to.
Yeah.
If you want to pay for it.
Yeah, go ahead, yeah. I can make that happen for you. So anyway, so access rules. So you can create as many access rules as you want and associate the individual for that access rule. Like I said, usually you see like a teacher one and then like a custodian one that usually has access to everything, or like an admin one that has access to everything. And then, or the custodian one, say the custodians don't have access to certain places, then you give them access. Sometimes you even see stuff like vendor ones, right?
And
So a vendor comes in and he's only supposed to be in the boiler room, period, you know, kind of thing. That person only has access to the boiler room, you know, in the front door.
That's what we are going to use that for.
Right. Another really common one that I see, visitors. So you can associate, I don't know if there's a visitor management portion of this, doesn't look like it. No. We have, if you guys wanted to budget for it for, you know, another part of the year or something, there's a visitor management, what we call module, that's a licensed feature that you can actually add to the system. You come in to operation, under operation it would say visitor management. What you get is, you get this, which looks identical to this, but it's for a visitor. So a visitor comes in, the secretary or whoever's running the front desk can log a person in, type in their first and last name, maybe, you know, their license number or something like that, and then take a quick snapshot of them, and then actually physically hand them an access control card that just says visitor on it, right? That has associated doors to it. The front door, period, right? So that person can go out into their car, grab something, come back into the main office, right? So now we have a log of a visitor that came in at such and such a time, was associated to a card, was granted access to the front door, and then when that person comes back, they hand you the card and you log them out of the system. Now you have a log of all your visitors. Instead of writing it in a book kind of thing, you know, you can make it more legit. Show me your license. That person just takes a look at the license. Yep, it's the person. Type in, you know, license number or whatever. But it's an option, and it is available. It's a good one. But cardholder. So let's go back, and I just want to quickly create a cardholder without actually creating one. I've typed in Jake's first and last name. There was Signet. It's active. It can expire if you want to. You can actually set a specific expiration date, or you can actually have it expire at like the first time of use kind of thing, or activate at first time of use. So those are options. You can have user-defined fields in here. So if say you are a company, you guys probably wouldn't, but if you wanted to, you could have, you know, user-defined fields. I want the person's, you know, license number. I want their, you know, their plate number on their car. I want all this other stuff, their height, you know, their sex, that kind of stuff. You can all have that. Then what I can do is, if you want, you can actually have a associated badge printer on this, right? I can hook up a badge printer and I could actually print out badges that have the school's name and on it and all that kind of stuff. Personally, I shouldn't say this, but personally I think that's a terrible idea, just because someone drops it on the street, they pick it up and they're like, oh, look at that. I know where this school is. They walk over, and if that's a teacher's card, you know, you get the teacher access. And for you to swipe at the front door, and now I'm in the school. So usually blank cards are pretty good. Usually you just have like the person's picture and their name on it or whatever, so you know whose card is associated with it. But you keep addresses off and school names, maybe a school logo if it wasn't like identifiable.
Because that's not what our current badges do, right?
Our card is blank right now.
Yeah, the cards are blank.
Yeah.
My ID is obviously, but the card is behind here.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, it's
Yeah, I know what
totally
you're
up to you guys and how you want to, go that.
No, that
road.
makes sense to have the
Yeah.
separate thing in the blank card.
Well, and the problem here too is the community knows everybody that works here, so even if there's a name on it,
Right.
they know where the access is to.
Right. So I mean, you could put like just a number on it, and then you can actually look it up in the system and based on the number.
Be the best thing to do, probably.
But once I filled out the information that I want, selected the badge, if you'd so deem, kind of thing, what you can do is you can actually add this person to a Cardholder group, which we haven't talked about yet, and everything else is pretty much the same. I'll come back to the Cardholder group, and then I can create a credential for that individual. This person has a card. What you can do is you hit this plus button in the bottom left-hand corner, and you can automatically do it, manually enter it, or use an existing credential. So, or use a PIN if the keypads were actually pinned, but you guys don't have PIN codes. I didn't see. No, they're just
Just a swipe.
So by manually entering it, what it does is it actually comes up with a box, and it says select a reader. You can actually purchase separate enrollment readers. I don't know if you guys have any in the system. I don't know if there was an option for you or whatnot. You don't really need to. It's really not important. But you can actually have a reader that sits here on the desk, and you can just swipe the card on it, and it pulls the information in, and that person's card is now associated with them. What you can also do is you can actually select an access point, which would be a door, any door. So, if I knew somebody wasn't coming through that door over there, I could select that door and then wait and then run around with the card and swipe it at this reader right here, and it would then take the information and put it in. Or if I knew what the card's information was, period, I could just select manually enter. It's a 26-bit card. The facility card's 147, which I know because this person has 147. The card number is 199, and all I have to do here is just enter the card number. If you show me your card, please. On these cards, what it has, it actually has the card number stamped on it. Usually what it is, actually these don't have it on here, it look like. For the most part, usually these cards have these stamp numbers on it. These don't look like the card numbers, and that's for security reasons usually. But you can purchase them with the card number on it. And these, I don't think that these are the card numbers on here.
Is this one different?
Could be. Oh, there you go.
Yes, mine's for both the high school and...
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. So see here now, I have number 188. That makes sense because this guy's got 199. So this is the card number right here, 188. Doesn't mean that it's the actual the technology on the card. So you can't like mass produce this card just by knowing that information. It just tells me that this card's 188 of a stack of probably like 10,000 or something like that. To actually duplicate this card would be almost impossible. Plus, you'd have to know more information than what this is telling me right here. But the unique ID number for these cards looks like 141, which we call the facility code. Usually, any site has a code number associated with it, or it could have multiple facility code numbers associated with it. From what I can see from this, it looks like 141 was the stack of cards that you got from Signet. And then you just type in the card number, you hit OK, and now that card is associated with this individual. Still, again, remember what I said, input a user, then you associate them a card, and it still does nothing until I actually tell that card what to do. So now I select an all doors rule, which shows me all the doors that is associated with it and at what time. So with this, what is created right now is it looks like 24/7, 365, on all doors in this building. If I selected that to that card for that user, that person has 24/7 on all these doors. So this is kind of where you need to go back into the system and you actually go back to the configuration part of the system and say, here's my teacher credential or my teacher access rule. Here's my custodian access rule and my admin access rule and that kind of stuff. So when I go and select that, it'll associate it with that card and that user.
So say a custodian said it was only supposed to work Saturday and Sunday.
Yep.
The card could go anywhere in the building on Saturday and Sunday, but nowhere on Monday through Friday.
You got it, because that access rule is associated with the time schedule,
Yeah.
which we didn't also talk about because we didn't really create an access rule, right? So to actually create an access rule, it has to have a few different things. One is it has to be associated with doors, groups of doors, or associated with multiple doors, and then it actually has to have a time schedule associated with it, right? So these doors, at what time? And then that you actually assign to a user, and then a user's individual card. because a user could have multiple cards, right? So you could send, give the, here you go, this card works Monday through Friday, this card works, you know, only on Sundays, you know, or Saturdays or whatever, weekends. So the system is very flexible in how you want to utilize it. So you can come up with your own policies and, you know, how you want to move forward with it. But usually, you know, we don't just start designing that, right? Because we have no idea what you actually want to do. Right. Usually that comes from you guys, and then you tell Signet, and then Signet says, okay, I'll come in for, you know, such and such amount of money for the day to program all that stuff. Or if you want to try and figure it out and do it yourself, go ahead, you can do it. So that's the cardholder management. Is there any questions with that? No. You guys want to take a break, or do you want to just keep going? We're good? We don't really have that much more to do. We've gone over, you know, what? What? Who are you laughing at?
It seems like there's a lot to do.
There's a ton. I mean, I could sit here for the next 2 days and show you all these different features and stuff, but what I'm showing you is the 10% that you want to know. Just enough so you guys can start playing around with it, because honestly, everything else I tell you from now and probably until we leave, you won't remember. So what I just told you right now is the stuff that I want you to remember. So that's kind of how I do my training. I always show the 10% that you should know, and now the rest of the stuff is kind of like higher end level stuff that you usually make a phone call to Signet about, or you know, you call us and ask for help, which is definitely possible. So the Genetec name you can find on the website. It's www.genetec.com, Genetec, Genetec. You can go on there. The main number will dump you right into the main directory, and for technical support, hit 2, boom. You'll get connected with a technical support person. You guys can, you know, call in, ask a couple of questions, that kind of stuff. If you abuse it, then you've got to start paying for service. But we'll never not talk to you, so that's kind of a lie. So if you want to try and figure some stuff out and you have some questions, call us, ask for tech support. You know, they'll say, you know, what school, where are you calling from, what school, blah, 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 that kind of stuff.
So I would think we'd probably, I think our connection is with Signet.
Absolutely.
And
yeah,
then, so we'd call them. And
right. Was there a plan in place when the school was designed for like a software maintenance agreement or an actual software support from Signet or anything like that?
No, I know that.
Okay, so that probably is in place. Usually when a new system gets deployed, usually there's some kind of service contract that's been sold along with the job. If not, they'll be contacting you to sell a service contract. Or you could designate an individual within your facility to really learn this, get a hold of it, take it with both hands, and be like that go-to guy when it comes to the system. Either case, yeah, I mean, the system's up, it's running. I mean, the naming convention and stuff, it probably could use some work just because it's really generic. But that might be just because they're looking from somebody in this office to say, I want to call this camera that and this door that kind of thing. Because that's usually not what Signet does, right? Just go in and start making up names. Front door, this might not be the front door here, maybe over there, so. Yeah. So we understand sort of the whole task-based concept. Your login rights come from somewhere completely different, which I haven't shown you in the system. So everything that's day-to-day at this point, you can do right from this unified interface, which we call Security Desk. Security Desk is pretty much what you saw today and what I've shown you. There's one part of the system which you can log in from here, and it's under Administration, Config Tool. The config tool is where you actually program all of this stuff. So everything you just saw had to be programmed and put into the system and designed, sort of, right? In here, what I have is I have a drop-down box of a bunch of different stuff in here. As far as security, users that actually can log into the system, right? This is where all your access rights come from the system. I'm the principal, I want full access rights, I can see everything in the system, blah, 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 blah. You can create new users in the system here, and then you can associate those new users with rights, right? So, in this system, this person or this user has a right in the system to log in. Then they have privileges throughout the system to access different parts of the system. It's so granular, it's sickening. It's so granular. So I can say I want this person to be able to view video, but they can't look at recorded video. I want them to view video and be able to control cameras, but not look at recorded video. I want them to look at recorded video, but not live video. All this stuff you can do. I want them to be able to look and pull reports, but I want them to be able to print reports or export reports, all that kind of stuff. Usually I tell you guys to stay away from that kind of stuff just because it can get very, very confusing, and then people start complaining about rights and that kind of stuff. Usually you pick 1 or 2 people that, you know, utilize this.
It'll be very limited.
Right. Right, give them full access and, you know, and that kind of thing, other than like config tool or something, you know. So people can log into the system, they can do pretty much whatever they want, but they just can't manipulate any data, right? They can't say, now your access rule is nothing, right? You don't want people to be able to get into the config tool, and you can do that, right? So this user has access to the config tool, you can deny it. Boom, done. Now the person can log into the system, they can look at all the recorded video and the live video they want and all the access, and actually put in users and add, I shouldn't say users, they can import new card holders in the system with an access right and that kind of stuff, but they can't get into the config tool and create new users that can physically log into the system. Because that's where we've gone, right? We've gone from an actual user with a card to an actual user that can get into the system to create those users.
Like the teachers and everybody, they're not going to need to look at video or anything, so there's only
just a handful
of people that will have anything to do with this.
Right. So, I mean, literally, and that's common. I usually only see, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 people, especially in a K through 12 environment. I mean, if it was like a big, say, police department, then you'd have like, you know, all the captains and stuff, and or whatever, the captain and a bunch of the, you know what I mean, lieutenant.
So could, for example, our public safety buildings right up the road, can they have access to video in their building, off-site, or does it have to be on-site?
No, they can. It really depends on the network and how the network is set up. So if there's a direct connect or fiber optic cabling that comes from their office into here, or you guys share some kind of servers, what you could physically do is load a client at one of their seats over there, and then they could log into the system as, say, a patroller or a such and such officer, and then you could give them specific rights to the system where they could only look at live and recorded video, but they couldn't do anything else.
Right.
You know. So yeah, absolutely. It really depends on how the network is set up, but I mean, yeah, it's very common. In fact, it's one of Genetec's strongest points is we're actually known and made, or we design our software for citywide deployments. Some of the biggest ones we do is a city called New York City, if you've ever heard of that one. We sell exclusively to New York City and the NYPD. So anything that's new or deployed as far as video management in the city of New York is Genetec. So a new building gets built, what's the VMS? It's Genetec. Because the NYPD can pull any kind of live video feed or recorded video feed from any state, any city entity.
Wow. Well,
it's very cool.
I mean, just that thing that happened the other night. If we had that hooked up, someone there could have just looked and said, "Oh, see a guy pushing a floor machine." So, oh, it's a custodian.
Right. It's becoming very common. I wouldn't put it past, you know, the Brewer PD to actually get their own system and then pull your video into it, kind of thing at a given point. What's happening is, you know, since everybody's got their own money and their own budgets and that kind of stuff, usually, you know, they buy something else, and it's not compatible, so they're running over here asking you that kind of stuff. But you know, all that's dollar monies, right? A cruiser to come rolling over here and spend an hour or 2 hours is a big waste of cash. So the cities are starting to see is, you know, if we can standardize it on one kind of system, have it be Genetec or not Genetec, as long as the whole city is in one kind of system, we can, you know, push and pull video across each other's systems and save a bunch of cash. So yeah. So under the user tab, I should say, under the drop-down box, the user, you can actually create your new users, associate them with, you know, privileges and that kind of stuff. Other things that I can do in this system is my schedules. So we talked about schedules and how important those schedules are. Here's my always schedule, which is deemed by selecting the time bar at the time of new entry. So if I say create a new schedule, and I call it whatever, I can call it test. That's all I really need to let it know. And I can create a schedule based on a daily schedule, a weekly schedule, an ordinary, what is it? Ordinal schedule. So that's like per day or specific. So this is ordinal is basically I can select a bunch of different days. So I can say this is how you would create your holiday schedule. So I have Christmas, right? And then I have Thanksgiving and Easter and all these different days. It's basically you're selecting the day and the time within that day. If it was just a weekly schedule, obviously I can just select the time frame based on the week, that kind of thing. More specific. I'm actually going to delete this just so it's not in there and confusing anybody. But schedules are important, as you know, because then you have to associate those schedules with access, right? You associate each schedule with access. So under access control, when I go to this drop-down box, what I can do is I can go to access control, and here's my access rule, right? Access rule is those access rules that I wanted to create for my teachers and for my custodians and my visitors and that kind of thing. What I can do is I can create a new entity, and I can say access rule, and then I can create it, I know, say call it teacher, and then what I can do is select a schedule if it already has been made. If it hasn't been made, don't worry about it, you can just skip over it, but I'll just select all this for right now, and it creates that access rule. But now what we do is if I go to the doors or the cardholders or cardholder groups, nothing's associated to this access rule. So what I can do is I can go now and I can actually say grant access to cardholders, select the plus button, and now I can select who I want to be associated to this access rule, right? So everything's logical in the system, right? It doesn't matter what you create first, how you start first, where you go. It's just you have to have certain components to make sure that that works, right? So I can create an access rule without even having any users in the system. I can create an access rule without even having any schedule associated in the system. But I have to go back and I have to associate that at one point because it wouldn't work, right? If I create an access rule based on a bunch of doors, but I don't have any users associated to it, it doesn't do me any good. It doesn't do anything. But it just gives you the flexibility to start and stop wherever you want within the system. Alright? I'm going to delete this one too, just so it doesn't confuse anybody. Card holders. So we've already created card holders in the system because you can create card holders within the user interface, right? You can do it here as well if you want to. It's much easier to do it in the user interface, but it still gives you the option, and it's kind of like a wizard. It goes from step to step right through until you create a card holder. What you can also do is you can actually create a card holder group. Now, what a cardholder group is basically a way to associate any new users that you create in a system to a group, so you don't have to individually select, you know, their access rights and their door groups and all that kind of stuff. You can actually create a bunch of people and then just associate them to, say, the teachers group, right? That kind of thing. Am I losing you guys already?
No.
No? Okay. Tell me if you're a little confused at any point, and I'll stop. Again, credentials, all this kind of stuff. Credential and access rules. You need to create access rule here, but credential, as you saw in the security desk portion of the software, you can do it in cardholder management. Let's go back to Pick Tool. See what else do we got here that we need to show you. LPR, you don't have to worry about it, but what LPR stands for is license plate recognition. The software has a license plate recognition piece of our software too, for like cruisers or gates and that kind of stuff. So you drive up and I have plate number 12345. The system reads that with the LPR camera, and then the gate opens automatically because you're associated in the system. Or it doesn't because you're not in the system. Alright, once you're in Config Tool, you can see all your entities in the system, you can see all your cameras, and you can see all your doors and that kind of stuff. And you can actually change the properties of that door. I highly suggest you don't do this because your door will stop functioning, or cease to work. This is where sort of Signet comes into play, and why we train them and why they spend big bucks with us to get their technicians certified, so they can come in here and they can associate the request to exit device with the door and the door contacts and how the doors function and that kind of stuff. With that being said, I mean, you could have extended grant times and that kind of stuff. So when we said how long can you hold the door open before it goes into door held open alarm, that kind of stuff, all that you can change and you can manipulate. So if you need, say you have somebody that is in a wheelchair and you need to grant them extended grant time, you can actually say to that user, I want to extend that grant time to that user, and that way they're not creating alarms and that kind of stuff.
I was just saying, I'm sure for the open house, we're going to show people that cafeteria. And every time we get something out of it, 2 new things come in.
It's been filled for
It's like-
over a month.
Yeah. Shoveling against the tide.
A truck is pulled up today, I don't know what was in that. He must have done that.
Alright, one thing that I didn't show you guys that it's probably important is actually taking archive video out of the system, or exporting video, right? I didn't show you that, did I? We skipped over that. It's a bad thing. So let's go back to our police example here. The system is struggling to
Police Academy.
catch up here. On your time bar, you have, I mean, this is a lot of video. This is a lot of video. What you can do is if you right mouse click, what you do is see how I just brought up 2 little start and stop points. I can do what's called wrapping the video. What that does is that actually sets the start and stop point for my exported video. There's a little tiny disc right here. Everything, if you hover over it, it'll actually tell you what it does. Export video. I can select this, which will then take the recorded video what's in between these 2 cursors. So,
It's like iMovie.
And make
Yeah.
a little file, video file of that point in time.
you got it. Yep, so I can point this video file where it's going to be exported to the physical machine somewhere on the network, pretty much anything. I mean, if you wanted to put a thumb drive in the computer, you can do that and download it right from there. All of which, again, can be locked down. So, I mean, if you had reasons why you didn't want to have, like, that availability, you can lock that down. ASF is a common file. ASF is Advanced Systems Format, which is a Windows proprietary format. So if you download it like that, it'll actually Playback in Windows Media Player, just standard things. You have the G64 file format, which is our proprietary format. And the reason why we do that is that in ASF, since it's a really common thing, I want to be able to authenticate my video. Say you have a murder, which hopefully never happens, but if you did, what's going to happen is the police department's going to come in with probably some federal agents, and they're going to come to the system and they're going to say, give me the video for whatever happened if you had anything. You're going to want to download it in our G64 format, because what that does is it actually goes out to the database and it actually takes the timestamp along with the little 1s and 0 format, and it actually applies it to every frame of video. That way, when a forensic video analysis guy goes back and looks at all the video, he can see in sequential order, this frame is number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and he can authenticate that video so
Just so
no
it hasn't been altered.
Yeah, correct. Tampered with or whatever. If he sees, no stamp or whatever, then he knows somebody's been putting stuff in. If he sees number 1, then sees number 12, then the stuff's been taken out.
Rosemary Woods.
Yeah. So that's why it's there. Either one will work fine for you though, on how you want to do it. When you export it, you just hit export. What you can do is, you can play it back on any system with our software on it, or you can get a copy of what's called our single-click player. So if you export video, you can send that along with the disc, and you can play it on any computer. Or you could just use ASF and you can play it on any computer with Windows Media Player. Yeah. Let's go back to some simple functions. Let's pull up some video. And I'll show you what's going on in here a little bit. So we didn't really talk about live video, so I'm going to go back into it now. Like I said, I wanted to show you the meat and the potatoes before I start boring the hell out of you guys with feature sets. But upper right hand corner, it has actually a little a button that says live. That button will turn red, and it will say REC in red. If somebody walks down the hallway, it's recording the motion. It's actually recording right now. This is just showing me live. It's not recording because the button is black. This is nothing to be recorded there. Upper left hand corner shows me the camera name. this little drop-down box upper left-hand corner where I can do some functions. I can jump into an instant replay mode where it'll actually show me the last 5 minutes of recorded video. I can also bookmark the video, so on any camera and in any state, live or recorded, I can add bookmarks by that little drop-down box or the little button right here, or I can actually start a case. This is when the person took the laptop, or suspect, blah, 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 blah. And I can add bookmarks throughout my system, so when I go back and I export my video, if I do it in RG64 format, I'll actually export all the notes with it as well. So I can actually go back through and see all that stuff within the video. So let's, I'll show you. You can actually see if I add a bookmark in the system, hit enter. It's hard to see from back there, but there's actually an orange line right here. And it actually has the note on it associated with it. So now, if you can imagine, I'm doing a case, I'm a police officer or whatever, or if I'm just a principal that wants to just have a fight broke out, and here's when Jimmy enters the room, this is when Jimmy kissed Steven's girlfriend, and this is where Jimmy hit Steven in the face, and blah, 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 kind of thing, and you actually create a case, right, that you can actually follow through. So now I can just jump back up. Show me when Steven hit him. Okay, yep, jump back, boom, there he is.
Can you use this for school discipline?
Can use it for school, absolutely. If it comes to physical violence and that kind of thing, yes.
Kids gonna hate that.
Yeah.
I didn't hear
anything that is
Be nice though when somebody said, "I never touched you."
Yeah. Well, you are. But anything with physical violence, vandalism, theft, but again, not performance.
Not job performance.
Right? Nothing with performance.
So you can't show them sleeping in the back of the class.
Correct.
Unless it's the teacher.
Well, it's not the
Still job performance.
Still job performance, that's true.
So cases. You can also, on live or playback, you can print or save a snapshot with these two little buttons here. They also are available here. Or if I think those are the two areas we can do it. But save and print a snapshot sometimes is just as powerful as recorded video, right? You here he is, hitting him in the face. Just stop the video, hit print, get the printed, put it on the desk, and be like, here you go.
Or a guy going out the door with one of the HD TVs looking right at the camera.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You don't need to go ahead and and export video and make it complicated on yourself when you can just print or save a snapshot and just email it off if you want to, that kind of thing.
Whoops, sorry.
What else we want to do? Other kind of functions. You can also do your export from here if you want. None of this do you really need to know. Alright, on this PTZ button right here, what you can do is you can select PTZ, and what you're going to get is a little window. If you notice when I do this, it does nothing, because this is not a PTZ camera. But if I do up and down, or zoom in, zoom out, it does do something. It does a digital zoom. Just like if you have your standard point-and-shoot cameras out of your pocket, you pull it out, the lens goes all the way out to its farthest point, because it's 35 millimeter, it goes out to 35 millimeters, and then it goes beyond, right, because it's a digital camera. Software takes over and allows you to go and zoom in on the picture. And you'll notice it'll continue to get more and more granular because it's not physically focusing anything with the lens. It's just zooming in on the overall picture. So notice how I have a little box here. I can actually take this box and move it around. There's my door. So now if I want to try and get a zoomed up picture on that individual and it's not as granular, as to the point where you can still see the individual, you can utilize this, right? I hit the clear button, it goes back. So see something down the hallway. What I can do is I can click and hold, and I can actually drag a box where it'll automatically zoom that into that window. Now this is actually a really powerful tool because what's coming out now is a bunch of new technology called megapixel cameras, right? Just like your standard point and shoots, the more megapixels you got, the bigger the frame is, right? So when I do this digital zoom, and I do it on a higher end megapixel camera, this will still be clear. Because this is probably a VGA camera, it's 640 by 480 pixels, so 640 pixels by 480 pixels, big, right? I go into 1 megapixel or 2 megapixel, now you're talking about 1224 by 800, which is double the pixels. So now the frame's this big. So when I go in and do my zoom, I can zoom twice as far without it getting pixelated. So now you have a system that's capable of doing digital zoom. So say, you know, the newfangled cameras come out, you want to cover a larger area with one camera that's megapixel, you pop up a megapixel camera, now you have a new style technology that you can utilize. I don't know if you have megapixel cameras on the site or not. I didn't install it, but wouldn't be surprised if you did. So that feature is available for you. What else we got? Instant sync is a really cool feature too. Say I had a bunch of cameras. Say I had a bunch of cameras up. And all these cameras are kind of in the same area. They're like, say, down a bunch of corridors, right? Around the same location. What I can do is I can select this camera on the recorded state of that camera, and I can say sync with all my other tiles. What it does is it actually syncs all of these other cameras with this one camera. So if these were in the recording state, and I go back and I say sync, notice how now these times are exactly the same. So I'm seeing back in time the exact state this person walks through this frame. Maybe he'll come out this hallway, you know, depending on how you lay it out. But you can sync a bunch of tiles with one other tile. Neat. Just another function. You can do like slow motion, you know, the person doing like the Running Man slow motion style. You can do a loop back. So if I wanted to see this camera, where's that person that was walking through that? Here he is. I do my right mouse click, right? I hit loop back. What's going to happen is that it's going to start over again. See how that started over again? So now there's the person, you walk through, when he starts walking out of the frame, I want to continually see that person back and forth. So I just let it pause. And there it goes again. Loop back. Nice little feature. You saw me playing when we were doing our investigation.
Do one thing and just keep looping back to look like you're busy all day.
Yeah. Looks like you moved a lot of desks and chairs.
Yeah. You saw me during the investigation, what we did earlier, where I was doing the 2-time.
You do that now.
Where I was doing the 2-time, 4-time, 5-time, 10-time until it ended.
Adjust your playback speed.
Yep.
That's pretty neat. Oh, he's moving now.
He's cruising. Elevator read. So, yeah, those are the major functions. That's kind of the interface. Any questions?
That's awesome.
That is cool.
All right. So, I mean, like I said, I could sit here and talk about this until I'm blue in the face, but you guys aren't going to get this.
You gave us plenty.
Yeah.
Oh, more than we'll ever be able to.
Until you guys sit down there and play around with it a little bit more, you know, maybe, you know, you ask something that you beg and plead, I'll come back out and sit with you guys again.
Now, there's a lot of things, like some of the things in the building I have remote access to. When I'm on any computer that has an internet connection, basically. This being on our network, is this, so if I'm traveling, say, can I access this from?
Yeah,
as long as I can get onto our network, right?
If you can get on your network and you take our client, you load it on your laptop or whatever machine that you have, the exterior of the building, yes. As soon as you use VPN client, you load our software on your laptop, you connect to this system, you use your username and password, it's going to be like you're sitting here on the desk.
Wow.
Obviously it might be a little slower because it depends on that connection that you're on and that VPN client, all that kind of stuff, but yes, the answer to that is yes. The way that we license our software and how software companies make money, though, is that we license it per workstation or seat. So as long as you're not sitting here using it, someone's sitting here and using it, and you're not using it at home, it'll still it'll work, right? Our systems are deployed with 5 seats, but depending on how Signet bought the system or how it was called out in the drawings based on the general contractor and all that kind of stuff, you might have 10 seats. I don't know.
Yeah.
But again,
we don't either.
Right.
I don't think.
So they're concurrent. So as long as there's not more than 5 people on the system, you can log in to work from whatever.
And it shouldn't be, because like it's basically, you know, I'm the one that's responsible for site security,
Right.
And then you guys are.
During the day when,
Yeah.
yep.
And then Mark is responsible for our network security, so I think that's really it.
Right. So I mean, and it's not like you're stuck at that. If you wanted to pay, a couple $100 and get another seat because you found that, you couldn't get in and, when I wanted to be in kind of thing, you can do that. It's not like a major overhaul or anything. It's
the actual tutorial.
Huh?
Are you done with the actual
Yeah,
tutorial?
yeah.